And we are live. Welcome back to Brews and Bets. My name is Steve Ricciardi. Tyler is not with us this week. Lover boy is a little bit busy with his girlfriend tonight. So we have a usual guest and an occasional guest at this point. So CG, how's it going over in Michigan? How's it going?
It's going okay, dealing with some sick kids, but finally got the toddler to bed. Now I'm talking fights with you guys, drinking a Molson Canadian, so ready to do this shit. Let's go.
and he's enthusiastic tonight. And Dave, how's it going? Welcome back to the program.
Going good. Just got finished playing a little racquetball earlier, and time to play. Make some bets and brews.
And Dave, what was the big bet that you were totally against everybody else on last week and hit? Was it 2 weeks ago?
It was 2 weeks ago. It was the main event. Who was it? Now I'm blanking on it. Oh, Masvidal.
Masvidal, right. You were on a Masvidal, and we were like, you're crazy. And not enough.
I said I had a gut feeling.
How many of these underdogs in the main events have come through recently?
Pretty much all of them. I've been getting them all wrong for the most part.
Yeah, I have been too. So, all right, let's get right into this card. There's a lot of fights here. Again, we can skip any fights that you guys don't like any plays on. Dave, I hear you like this first fight, Alex Perez and Mark De La Rosa. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking to bet here.
On this fight, I'm looking to bet Perez goes to decision. I think both of these guys are pretty tough, durable. They're going to be quick. But the wrestling, for the most part, is going to neutralize each other. I don't think, personally, De La Rosa has very good wrestling. When he gets guys on the mats, he does have good jiu-jitsu. But Perez just hits harder. And I think his size and strength will be able to keep De La Rosa from being able to get him onto the ground at all. And I think Perez is just going to be piecing them apart on the feet.
Now, here's my issue with Perez and CGI. I'm pretty sure. Were you on Perez in the Benavidez fight, or were you on Benavidez?
I was on Perez.
You were on Perez. I was too, and I think Tyler was. I think we talked about this. Perez balloons up. When he used to fight at 125, he balloons up to like 145 on Fight Night. And if you go back to that fight with Jose Shorty Torres, I mean, that was a ridiculous fight for as long as it lasted. I think it lasted about 3.5, 4 minutes. They hit each other with a ton of everything, kicks, punches. It was a very physical fight, and Perez eventually just knocked Torres out, and he was much bigger. You could just see it in the ring, much bigger. I didn't see that much of a size difference against Benavidez, and it was a little alarming because I had heard that he balloons up to 145, which is really why I was on him in that Benavidez fight. I'm still not sure what Benavidez hit him with. I think he got hit with a punch or something to the back of the head. Yeah. I don't even know if it was a legal punch. But the other thing that concerns me with this fight is Mark De La Rosa's fought guys that are basically 125ers, right? Elias Garcia is a small guy. Joby Sanchez is pretty small for the division. So De La Rosa hasn't really fought anybody. So I do like Alex Perez myself. I kind of feel like he may be able to finish this, though. So, CG, what do you think? Can he finish this? Are you on Perez here?
I'm on Perez. I think he's better pretty much everywhere. He lands more strikes per minute, more takedowns per 15 minutes. One thing about De La Rosa, he's got good jiu-jitsu, but he could not take Joby Sanchez down. He won by decision in his last fight, landed 66 strikes to Sanchez's 55. Pretty boring, uneventful fight. I don't see him getting Perez down, and I just don't see a path to victory for De La Rosa. But I do think De La Rosa is pretty tough. He was only finished in the UFC by Tim Elliott, but that was a fight that he took on short notice. So I think Perez wins, and I think he wins by decision because I don't think De La Rosa is going to sit there and go toe-to-toe with Perez like Shorty Torres did. So, yeah, I like Perez by decision.
It's not a bad bet.
Yeah, let's say that 40. Yeah, it's better than minus 330 for the win.
Yeah, that's a lot better. A lot better. Yeah. See, I just think that Perez wants to engage in that firefight.
And De La Rosa has not that much power. He's pretty quick with his strikes, but he doesn't have a ton of power.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about him getting knocked out on the feet.
Yeah.
No, I'm not either. All right. Let's get into this next fight. I'm going to take this one only because my wife is Colombian, so I've been to Medellin, Antioquia, and Sabina Mazel when I first saw this fight and saw that she was from Colombia, I took a picture, sent it to my wife, and told her, "Oh, we got to bet on this girl." And then all of a sudden, I hadn't seen her fight before. Then when I did the tape study, I'm like, "Wow, this girl can really fight." I'm actually considering putting a bet on her, and the line is getting a little bit closer. I believe it was minus 165 when I saw it the other day and wrote it down, and now she's minus 155. But she's an LFA champ. She actually defended too in LFA at this weight class at 125. Myra Moroz, this is her debut at 125. She's usually a 115er, and her last 5 fights went to decision. So I'm not really worried about her catching Sabina with anything. The thing I really do like about Sabina is Moroz is a striker and Sabina is just a better striker. I mean, this girl she's a South American kickboxer, gold medal in Abu Dhabi, boxing, BJJ, Muay Thai champ. She actually has 2 finishes by a head kick, and she puts out good volume. So with that being said, I don't think Moroz is going to out-volume her. I think Mazel is going to have the reach advantage, the height advantage. I think she's got the advantage, everywhere on the feet. On the ground, maybe I should be concerned. I'm not really sure. But the girl that she just beat, Carol Yarawaki, she missed weight, and she's a BJJ black belt and couldn't do anything, with Sabina because she really couldn't get inside. She was able to keep good distance. So I think this is a great spot to bet. Maybe not on DraftKings, but a great spot to bet Sabina Maza. And again, since my wife's Colombian, I definitely have to put a token play on it. CG, what do you think?
Yeah, this isn't a fight that I'm much interested in at all. Although I am in agreement. I think Mazel is the better fighter. You mentioned that she has 6 wins. Only 2 of those wins were by finish with the head kick. The other 4 were by decision. And one thing about Moroz is she is a little bit tricky. She has an armbar victory over Joanne Calderwood. Granted, it was about 4 years ago, but she can be dangerous off her back. 5 of her 8 wins are by submission, and I just don't feel comfortable enough betting on either girl.
Damn, I can't get you on
this
board.
was terrible tape studying for me.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Dave? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
It was pretty terrible tape study for me when I was watching these fights. I fell asleep during Moroz's fights.
Yeah, they're bad.
Dave, you guys are poo-pooing my bet here.
But Sabrina, the one thing that scares me is her takedown defense was pretty god awful. I forget, it was one of her earlier fights. She was getting takedown consistently, and she put up no effort to defend it at all.
You know what? I watched one of the head kicks, and I watched the most recent fight. Those are the 2 that I watched for her. And
in that fight, I honestly thought she lost.
The early
she was getting taken. One of the early fights, she got taken down repeatedly through round 2 and round 3, and they still gave her the decision.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one, so I'm not sure. But the ones that I saw, I was very impressed. So I don't know. I'm putting a bet on her. You're not talking me out of that one. Come on, she's Colombian. How often do you have a chance to bet on Colombia?
Yeah. But
all right,
I agree with you guys.
Let's get into this next fight. We got Ray Borg and his new opponent is Casey Kenny. Dave, I'll throw this one right back at you. Actually, you said that you didn't. Did you say you didn't watch Kenny yet?
I didn't get to watch Kenny yet, no, because by the time it got announced, I had too much stuff going on, so I didn't get a chance to watch it.
So, CG, let's go to you.
I'm predicting Ray Borg.
Yeah. I am too. I'm just a little concerned with it. CG, what do you think? Did you get to see Kenny at all?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Kenny right before the show, and there's a lot of people that are excited about this kid, and he's energetic, fights with a lot of intensity and stuff like that. I just don't know if he's ready. Borg was supposed to fight 2 other guys, right? And they
I think this is his third opponent.
This is his third opponent. I'm hearing that Kenny has had a history of cardio issues, and I don't like betting on people with cardio issues. But then again, Borg's been through quite a lot over the last year with the McGregor incident. Then his son almost died. So you wonder if his head's right. And then I'm also hearing that he's no longer training at Jackson Wink. So he's going through a lot of changes too. But even if, Borg has fought the best in the world, fought Mighty Mouse Johnson, has a win over Formiga. So even when you take everything into consideration, I think Borg should win with his wrestling. He lands almost 3 takedowns per fight. And I just think, Borg is going to be too much too soon for Kenny.
Yeah, I really do like Borg. I like him more. The takedowns are impressive, but then the way that he gets in and out of trouble with his transitions and
He can scramble.
Yeah, he's just really, really good in those situations. And again,
he had good moments against EJ.
Yeah. I mean, even against DJ, don't get me wrong. I mean, with the striking, he posed no threat at all with his striking. But when it came to those situations, he actually took DJ's back at one point, right up against the fence. So, take it for what it's worth. You got a guy who also, whether you like this guy Casey or not, I believe he fought like last week. In addition to that, he's coming in on. I mean, I found out the switch on Monday. I actually watched tape on Phillips Sunday night and then found out about the switch on Monday. So I don't know when this guy even decided to take this fight, but I would got to think, if Ray Borg, the issue is you just don't know what Ray Borg you're going to get because, as CG just said, there's so many things that went on in this guy's life. You just don't know where his head's at right now. So I think I'm going to pass on this. But if you do anything with this, I think it would be like a parlay piece. And again, there's no other props on this, so it's tough to talk about anything when you don't see the numbers.
Right.
Next fight, Kevin Holland and Gerald Mirschart. Inside the distance, -300, I think is a pretty safe bet. I wouldn't mind betting Kevin Holland either. Mirschart's a guy who, in my opinion, when I've been on him, he's really underperformed. And, he's been fighting forever. He's still not even that old, right? He's like 30 years old or something like that, 30, 31 years old. Holland's 26, and I feel like I'm pretty sure he's 26. That's what I wrote down. And, every time you see him, he gets better. And, consider his losses. He's got 2 losses. One is Thiago Santos, and the other one is Curtis Millender. And I think both of them went to decision. Guys that I know. I know he's got 4 losses, but guys that I know recently, those are pretty good losses, right? Those are two pretty good freaking losses for a guy at his age who doesn't really have all that much experience. So I kind of like a bet on him. It does come with some risk because Mirschart is he's experienced. He's going to be more experienced. He's also creative on the ground, so if he can get this to the ground. But I think if Holland keeps it on the feet, I think he just kind of picks him apart with volume. CJ, what do you think?
I'm in agreement. I like Kevin Holland in the spot. One thing about Mirschart is he quits. I felt like he quit against Hermanson. I felt like he quit against Thiago Santos. And when you look at his W's, they're not very impressive. Ryan Janis, Eric Spicely, Oscar Pacoda. Okay, I'll give him that. But still, I mean, Kevin Holland has the reach advantage. He has the height advantage. I think he's the better striker. He's got 13 wins, 12 finishes. So, he's definitely more of a finisher. And they both have solid jiu-jitsu. I want to say Mirschart's a brown belt. I think Holland's at least a purple belt. So I just don't know where Mirschart is better than Kevin Holland. And another thing about Kevin Holland, he holds a win over Jeff Neal as well back in January of 2017, TKO victory. So that's looking very impressive right now because Jeff Neal looks like a fucking animal. So I like Kevin Holland, and I don't see it going to decision. So I like Kevin Holland inside the distance.
Even how about Oscar Piachota? Isn't he the one who just walked right at Sam Alvey with his hands down and basically got knocked out?
No, that's Marcin Prachnio.
Oh, all right. I'm getting him mixed up then. Up. That's my fault.
You know what the funny thing is? Kevin Holland just had a grappling match.
Yeah, he did 2 weeks ago. I actually told Ty that before.
Yeah, kind of crazy. So at least he's in shape.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he cuts a lot. I think he kind of he bubbles around like 10 pounds above fight weight.
Who's that?
What do you think, Dave? Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland actually had a grappling match. It's on Tapology. Okay. He had a grappling match last week
against Kyle Short.
Yeah. At 195. And again, I think he kind of walks around at 195. I saw an interview or heard an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I heard him say that.
He just never stops talking shit either, does he?
The whole fight, right? That whole entire fight. He was.
That's all I remember from the Contender Series.
From the Contender Series, and then he did it against
Santos?
Thiago Santos, and then he did it a lot. Remember when he kicked what's his name in the nuts? And he was like,
Phillips?
sorry, John.
Oh, John Phillips, yeah.
John Phillips. Sorry, John. When he kicked him in the nut, I was dying laughing. He like apologized to his coaches and everything. So Dave, what do you like? You like a bet here or what?
Hold on, let me pull up the line. But right now, no. I mean, inside the distance, probably the best because both of these guys pretty much, I think it's like 80% of their fights go to finish, whether they win or lose. So that's probably the best bet right now, is just betting inside the distance.
Yeah, I do agree with that too. This next fight, Dave, I'm gonna throw it right back to you because we got a couple fights CG's liking coming up. Kevin Aguilar and Enrique Barzola. Tyler absolutely loves Kevin Aguilar. He's one of his favorite fighters. Barzola is a great wrestler. So this is kind of a striker versus wrestler, but Aguilar is very well rounded. So what do you think in this matchup?
I'm kind of on Barzola. He is just so relentless with his takedowns. And once he gets them, he just keeps doing it no matter how much he lets his opponents up. And I know this is not a DraftKings show, but for DraftKings, he's gold. He's the person you want in your lineup when you're building because he's going to get those takedowns. I know Aguilar has pretty good takedown defense, but Barzola is just so relentless with those takedowns, and I think that's what's going to be the difference. And he's faced the better competition of the two.
Is he coming off an injury, Barzola? Didn't he have to pull out of a fight a couple weeks ago?
I'm not sure on that one.
I feel like he was scheduled for something. CG, what do you think on this one? You got any plays?
I'm in agreement with Dave. I see a lot of people on Aguilar, and I understand why. I mean, he's a tough dude. His fight with Rick Glenn was spectacular. But Barzola averages over 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. He has a takedown in every one of his fights. His last fight against Brandon Davis had 10 takedowns. And like Dave mentioned, he is a DraftKings all-star. And I'm going to keep on going with Barzola until somebody proves that they can stop his takedowns. And nobody's been able to do that yet. His one loss was against Kyle Bochniak, but I thought he won that fight personally. But
it was a close split decision.
Yeah, I mean, Enrique Barzola is what he is. I mean, he's going to take you down. He's going to control you from top position. He's going to try to advance a little bit, but sometimes he's just complacent and comfortable being in top position. And, guys usually get back to their feet, and then you see the rinse and repeat takedowns. So I like Barzola, and you have to take into consideration that Aguilar's tough as fuck. So I like Barzola by decision. I do not foresee Barzola finishing this fight. So if he wins, I think it will be by decision.
Yeah,
Plus
I think
110, that's a nice bet.
Pretty safe play. I actually like fight goes to decision if you want to play that as a parlay piece. But yeah, I do like Barzola by decision. And again, since everyone wants to talk about DraftKings here, Tyler is on Aguilar. I am on Barzola, and I basically agree with everything that you guys said from a DraftKings perspective. I think in cash games, he's a great play. In GPPs, he's a great play because if he really is able to institute that multiple takedown philosophy that he uses, and again, not only is it multiple takedowns, he's throwing punches the entire time. He's taking you down, getting you down. He's not the kind of guy that's going to take your back per se. He's going to get you down and then just try to pound you and make you have to get up with his weight as you're getting punched, and then he takes you down again. So if he can impose that game plan, there's no, the sky's the limit to his DraftKings scoring opportunities there. So the Quan Edge, if you want any more information, hashtag Brews or code Brews will get you in. And let's get right into this next fight. This is a complete fade for me. Desmond Green and Ross Pearson. I honestly, Des Green is going around saying he's going to knock Ross Pearson out, but by the same token, he doesn't knock anybody out. His last 8 fights have gone to decision. So I don't see anything other than a decision here. Ross Pearson doesn't mind getting in the pocket and exchanging, but the issue is Des Green kind of fights and keeps a good range. He's actually most of the time outside range. So I think it's going to be a low-volume striking fight, and I think it's going to be very close rounds, and whoever gets that real good shot in any round could literally win the round. So, CG, what do you think here?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I think this is ugly as hell. Pearson lost 5 of his last 6 fights. He hasn't knocked out anybody since Sam Stout in March of 2015. So it's been 4 years. And Desmond Green, I mean, he's a good technical fighter. He's very tough. But I have a very difficult time betting somebody. Where's he at? He's like minus 445 to win the fight when he doesn't do a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, he might win a striking based decision and only land 45 significant strikes. It's the same reason I could not bet Wonder Boy last week. If you don't beat your opponent decisively, I'm not going to bet on you if the line is north of minus 200. There's got to be a clear and decisive path. There you go, McUltra.
Yeah, I got to make a little bulge.
Oh,
this is my
Jesus.
second.
Hey, do yourself a favor. Walk to the store and grab some Molson Canadian. Mick Ultra, Jesus. It's like drinking horse piss.
Or grab some Stubborn Beauty, nummy.
All right, okay. Can we just get back to the fights? Jeez,
I was disgusted with you. I had to make a statement about that.
Not always disgusted.
This is Brews and Bets.
Yeah, but you don't gotta call it horse piss.
Hey, Mick Ultra's not a beer though, is it?
All right, Dave. What do you think about this fight? Send it right there, Dave. Just please save me. Right? Des Green, Ross Pearson. You like anything here?
No, I mean the best odds I see are Green wins by decision at minus 183, but even that I'm not touching. It's just too wide of a margin to take that kind of risk.
I agree.
And again, not for nothing, but Pearson does take some shots against McDessie. McDessie put a pretty good beating on him, and he has a good chin. So even if Green does connect, like I don't see him putting Pearson out. All right, let's get into this next fight then. Jessica Aguilar and Marina Rodriguez, and I really like Marina Rodriguez. I don't know if I'm the only one that wants to bet on all the females in this card, but Marina Rodriguez was 10-0. I thought that she beat Ronda Marcos, and Marcos, we all kind of know what she did last week, so that win again looks a lot more impressive. The first round, Marcos was able to get Rodriguez down on the ground, and they scored it a 10-8 round. And they got her down. She got her down on the ground, but I don't think she did that much damage that it should have been a 10-8 round. And again, the fact that this went to decision and was, ruled a draw, Rodriguez beat her 2 rounds in a row on the feet. I thought the second round was close, but the third round, Rodriguez beat her. So with that being said, what is Jessica Aguilar going to do better than Ronda Marcos? Is she really going to take Rodriguez down? Rodriguez now, has a little bit more experience. Obviously, she's been training. That first fight, she knows she got taken down. That isn't going to happen again. And again, she was able, when the fight on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series stayed standing, she finished the girl in round 1 on the feet. The girl literally quit. She hit her with an elbow, kept throwing strikes at her, and the girl just quit and called off the fight. So that's how Rodriguez got herself into the UFC. I think she's going to wind up beating Aguilar. I think she can finish her, but for the most part, I think she's going to just high volume striking, very similar to the other girl, the other Colombian girl, Moza, I believe her name is Mozo. That I want to put a bet on early, so I may go, Rodriguez Mozo parlay here, all girl parlay. I'm actually going to these fights. I'm going to be covering them for MMA India, so I'm headed out Saturday morning. So I'm looking forward to putting some bets in before I go. But Dave, what do you think here?
If this fight was maybe like 10 years ago when Aguilar was actually somewhat good, she'd probably have a chance.
Yeah.
But she's just so small for the division. Her frame's small. She's small, like weight-wise. And she's a wrestler. She wants to get it to the mat as much as possible. But the problem is Rodriguez is a Muay Thai, and when she gets in the clinch, that's when she becomes very dangerous. And I honestly, for a small little prop play, Rodriguez wins by KO is plus 540. I kind of like that one right now.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Some new props came out, so.
Oh yeah, they're filling in as I just reset, and they're filling in right now. Good call, yeah. CG. What do you think?
I agree with both you guys, and it's funny because when you look at Aguilar's fight metrics, they're not that bad. 5.4 strikes per minute, high volume, over a takedown per 15 minutes, but. She's 36 years old, coming off a devastating submission loss too. And it's like, where is she better than Rodriguez? And from what I can see, nowhere. I mean, we know Marcos is pretty scrappy. I mean, she single-handedly took hundreds of dollars from me this past Saturday. But, Marcos is scrappy. She really is. And I agree with you, Steve. I thought Rodriguez won that fight. I mean, she decisively won round 2 and 3 in that fight. And I think she's better than Aguilar pretty much everywhere. Maybe not on the ground, but I mean, I don't foresee the fight going to the ground. And if it remains standing, then Aguilar's in trouble and she might get finished.
And again, take it a step further. Aguilar, since 2015, has beat one person, Jody Escobar, who I think is terrible.
Yeah.
That's her only win. So, yeah, let's just move on from this one. But, yeah, I think I'm betting that one. This fight is a fight – this next fight, Shaman Morais and Sodiq Yusuff, is a fight that I'm really looking forward to. Anybody who's a fight fan, this is going to be a hell of a striking match. The one thing I will say, CG, before I throw it to you, I know you got a play here, is I think this fight is going to look very similar to Sodiq Yusuff when he fought Mike Davis on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Davis actually came in as a decent favorite there. I remember Tyler telling me, Yusuf is good. I know he had a play on Yusuf. He said Yusuf is good. He's explosive. He's fast. And he was right. He wound up beating Mike Davis, almost knocked him out, right? I think he knocked him down once. But Shaman Morais is up to the task. I mean, his only 2 losses are to Sabit and Marlon Morais. Was able to beat Julio Arce and Mazel. And in the Julio Arce fight, he almost finished Arce. So, and again, the other thing with Morais, I said I was going to throw it to you, CJ. I apologize. And then I started just talking about it. This fight is just exciting to me. But against Sales, he faded a little bit. Against Arce, with even more strikes, I didn't see him really gas much. So I did like that he was able to overcome that gas tank issue because, again, I believe Zabit and Marlon Morais both finished him in round 3. I know Zabit finished him in round 3. I'm pretty sure Marlon Morais did too. So that gas tank could have been an issue, but I don't think it's going to be. But CG, what do you think? What's your play here?
So this is a bold statement, but Yusuf's hand speed is unreal. I was watching that fight against Mike Davis, and holy shit. I mean, he has a rare combination of power and speed. I mean, just that crazy muscle twitch reaction speed. He is so goddamn fast. I mean, this kid has so much raw talent. And, I mean, if he continues to develop, I mean, he's going to be a problem for a long time. I mean, if he can really work on developing a well-rounded skill set, I mean, all of the raw talent is there for him to be just an absolute fucking monster. So, Shaman Morais, obviously, he lost to Zabit, got the win over Sales, and Julio Arce, which that was a really good win. Arce, I want to say, was a pretty significant favorite in that fight. Morais came in and, pulled off the upset, but I think he's in over his head against Yusef because, I mean, honestly, just that hand speed is ridiculous. And this fight is only plus 100. Fight doesn't go to decision. Give me that all freaking day, all day. I mean, I honestly like Yusef wins inside the dish. Yusef wins inside the distance plus 232. I'm going to make a play on that. And then I'm going to hedge it with, fight doesn't go to decision just because Yusef is pretty raw. He doesn't have the best striking defense. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Morais landed on him either. But either way, I do not think this fight is going to decision.
Dave, what do you think? You like any of those plays? Do you have any plays of your own?
I've kind of gone back and forth on this fight a little bit. At first, I love Sodiq a lot. But the more I look at it, Shaman, he's tough as nails. And both guys just look to kill each other. When these guys go swinging, they're going to knock each other out. They're not, trying to point fight, jab here, there. They're going for the kill. And my other issue is that Sodiq's, most time when he hits guys, they become very defensive. And so he's able to, at that point, put on the gas and start, landing the strikes bigger and better. Where, like, Morais should be able to take these punches and keep moving forward. And not, pressure forward. And where Sodiq hasn't faced that kind of pressure before. The only person who kind of did it was Mike Davis a little bit. And at that point, he's had struggles during that fight at that point. So I kind of like Morais a little bit. Yeah. I'm kind of on the fence on this one.
What Dave just said is exactly what I was going to add to this conversation. I think that both of these guys in the fights where they fought this level caliber of fighter were the counterpunchers. Against Mike Davis, Yusuf was kind of on the outside ring of the octagon, counterpunching, letting Davis lead the fight and countering. Now, again, don't get me wrong, he was up in that fight, so maybe that's why he took that approach as the fight, got into the second and third rounds. Shayman Morais, by the same token, I think Matt Sales was able to put some pretty good pressure on him later in that fight because Morais had probably taken the first 2 rounds. And Morais actually lost round 3 when all that pressure was put on him. So I'm interested to see who actually leads this dance, because in the bigger fights that both of these guys have had, I think they've kind of been counterpunchers and have done very well in that. But, playing the hammer, playing the nail, who's going to be the hammer in this fight? I kind of feel like it's going to be Yusuf, which is why I'm a little concerned with him in this fight, if that makes any sense.
Let me tell you something. Mike Davis might have the same biological father as Brian Barberina and Steven Peterson. He is one tough son of a bitch. Most people can't take those punches from Yusuf. I mean, am I the only person that's completely enamored with his speed, his hand speed? It's insane. It's like, how does anybody punch that fucking quickly? It blows my mind. I mean, the guy is so talented, man. I mean, he's not polished, but he's talented. Fast as hell.
The thing with Shayman, he's always gets disrespected on the betting line and in general. He's always getting disrespected, but he comes through every time. And that's what kind of worries me. He's just one of those guys that just knows how to win.
It would concern me more if Morais was able to utilize some wrestling and grappling, but I mean, that's just not his game. I mean, he's a Muay Thai striker. Yeah. He's not going to go for takedowns. So that means him and Yusuf are going to stand and trade. And I can't imagine that he's going to be able to absorb Yusuf's strikes.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that part of it. But I mean, he is, I don't know, Morais is pretty good, man. His striking is on point. So
this is one of the fights I just want to not bet anything and just watch.
Can we all agree that it's going to end inside the distance, at least?
Or no, I think it is going to end inside the distance. But I think if it does, it's probably going to be Yusuf who finishes it.
I agree. And that plus 232, I love that line. But just to hedge it in case Morais is the one that lands and Yusuf goes out, because Yusuf has been knocked out before, then that line is still plus 100. So either way, good fight to target.
Yeah, a good fight to target. And again, CG, I think we're in agreement with this next fight. Kennedy, what are we calling him? Kennedy
Nunchuck.
And Jacob. But no, did you have a nickname for him, Dave?
Nunchuck.
Kennedy Nunchuck and Paul Craig. CG, we're on the same side of this. So what do you think here?
I am not very impressed with Nzechukwu. I mean, he has all the physical gifts similar to Yusuf. He's 6'5", has almost a 7-foot reach. But his first fight on the Contender Series, he was fighting a guy named Anton Berzin, who was actually on The Ultimate Fighter the season where it was Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn. And Berzin, I want to say, was one of the first overall selections. And, the guy's okay. I mean, I think he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I want to say, decent striking. But he dropped Nzechukwu once, maybe twice, but he definitely landed some. What was it? Twice?
I think twice in the first round.
I think twice in the first round, and he scored some takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Nzechukwu ended up getting the decision victory, but it wasn't very impressive. So they gave him another fight on some dude that looks like Gareth McClellan, just some fat dude with a beard. And Nzechukwu, who's 6'5", going against the dude that looked 5'10", 5'11", scored a head kick, and then followed up with some hammer fists and won the fight. Now all of a sudden he gets a contract and he is minus 185 against Paul Craig. I don't think the guy's that good yet. I mean, it looks like he has good technical straight punches, but there's not a lot of power behind him. Paul Craig is going to be much taller than the last guy that Nzechukwu fought. So, I mean, if Craig gets Nzechukwu down and can score a submission, he's not going to be able to get out of it like he did in his fight against Berzin. Like we were talking before, Steve, Berzin had the Darce choke in, and Nzechukwu was able to escape. If Craig gets that submission in there, I don't think Nzechukwu is going to be able to defend. So honestly, this is dog or pass for me. And I mean, I wouldn't be completely shocked if Paul Craig scored the submission victory.
No, and again, we were talking off the air. This line is actually tightening up because when I wrote it down, I think I wrote my stuff down on Monday. It was minus 225, and right now he's minus 185. So it's already changed 40 points. Dave, what do you think?
I'm in complete agreement for the most part. The only thing that worries me a little bit is Craig. This seems to always has one lapse or stupid decision he does every fight, and that could be, what costs him the fight. But for the most part, I'm in a complete agreement with CG and you.
And I'm even going to go a step further. I think that Paul Craig comes out pretty good out of the gate. So round one, I think you're going to see the best of Paul Craig. And he did it last time when he fought Jim Crute, right? He had Jim Crute in some tough positions on the ground early in round one. Crute was able to finish him in round three, but I'm pretty sure Paul Craig probably won round one, or else it was very, very close. And this guy's making his UFC debut. Don't get me wrong, CG said it, he's tall, he's long, 83-inch reach. It's pretty ridiculous. But like, if you look at the head kicks that he landed against the guy Bryant, like, the guy must not even do film study. He must not have known anything about. Like, he literally took 2 shots to the head, didn't put his hands up, the first time I think he was actually shooting in for a takedown, and then he tried to shoot in again. Like, the minute he went down, he just threw a head kick at him and then knocked him out. It didn't make any sense to me. I mean, that guy was terrible, but I think Paul Craig is a live dog here. You could even play the submission prop. Again, I'm a little concerned about the submission. How good is his submission defense? Burson had a very deep choke in, and Kennedy's coach at the end of round one basically said, "You're lucky to get out of that. Like that Darce was in." So if you listen to the coaching in between rounds, I thought he was going to finish him. And the minute I saw that, I did watch the rest of the fight, but I was like, Paul Craig finishes that. If he gets in that position, he finishes it. So. Next fight here. Dave, I'm going to throw this one to you. Karolina Kovalkovich. I think I said her name somewhat right. And Michelle Waterson. I've seen Karolina live at who did she fight? It was Felice Herrig. So she fought Felice Herrig. I believe that was in Brooklyn. And I'm just a little concerned with her at this point because of that last fight. What basically happened to Karolina against Andrade was she got hit early in that fight within the first 30 seconds, and Andrade really hurt her. And I don't know if she was fully recovered when she eventually got knocked out about 3 minutes later, but she hurt her very, very badly early in that fight. Because I don't see Karolina really shying away from a striking exchange, and she needed a minute to clear her head. And not only did she try to clear her head, but then Andrade basically knocked her out. She was out before she even hit the ground. So again, she's had her successes on the feet. She's had her successes against high-level competition or somewhat high-level competition. But I don't know how she's going to come back from this because I don't think she hasn't been rocked like she was here. And again, she was talking the talk. She was talking about beating Andrade and then getting her rematch with Rose, who I believe she actually beat. I'm pretty sure Karolina beat Rose, right? Earlier.
She did.
In their careers.
Yeah,
so
she did.
It would have been a rematch for the championship, but obviously that didn't happen for her. Michelle Waterson, I think, is still getting better. And again, I think she was an atomweight, right? Wasn't she an atomweight in
Invicta?
In
Invicta, yeah.
I believe she had that belt. So I think she's actually filling out, getting into her frame. And the other thing I noticed about this, if you want to play Narrative Street at all, but the UFC is really behind her about this whole, she's a mom and trying to be the first mom champion. They just did I think it was on E60 this weekend. I watched, a special on her. So ESPN and the UFC are really pushing Michelle Waterson. I don't know, man. I think this is a dangerous fight. I think Karolina is better as a striker. I think Michelle Waterson may be better on the ground. Karolina has great takedown defense. I believe it's like 85, 87% takedown defense. But for the most part, I just don't know how she's going to come back after this fight. If that was a closer fight against Andrade and she didn't take that kind of a damage and get knocked out, completely different story. But if you know anything about Carolina, before the fight, if you watch her, when they introduce her, she always sits up against the cage, kind of folds her feet over, thanks you for like saying her name. Very like low key kind of girl. At the end of that Andrade fight, she was crying. She was completely, distraught from that loss. So that's the kind of thing that can affect her moving forward. Dave, go ahead. What do you think here?
And this is a fight between probably the two best looking women in the UFC. Just throwing it out there first, because everybody's thinking it. But I'm kind of all over Carolina on this fight.
Okay.
She is just always moving forward. Besides Andrade, she just moves forward. She takes punches, but she delivers almost twice as many as she's getting. And her takedown defense is, like you said, is at 85%. Even when she does get taken down, she's actually pretty good about transitioning and advancing to get out of the, off her back. She doesn't just sit there and doesn't know what to do. I forget who it was she was facing, but I think it was Rose. I think she was able to transition a couple times on Rose when they fought. But I just think this fight's going to stay on the feet, and Carolina's going to be able to, use her size advantage and just pick her apart. Waterson does have some chances, if she does get it to the ground. That's how she's finished most of her fights. I think even in whole, most of her fights have finished. I think it's like 75% of them or something along those lines. But I still love KK in this fight. I think I would bet her at 155, but even better, because she goes to decision every time, would be to take her by decision.
That's not a bad play either. If you do like Carolina, by decision is not a bad play at all. CG, what do you think? Anything to add here?
I think this is your traditional fight between a striker and a grappler. If it remains standing, Kovalkovich has the edge. Obviously, lands almost 6 strikes per minute. And she does have good takedown defense at 87%, but I will say I'm looking back right now at Fight Metric, and she's had 8 UFC fights. She was taken down in 4 of them. And is Waterson good enough to get her to the ground? I mean, Waterson's been looking pretty impressive over the last couple fights. Felice Herrig, Courtney Casey, not world beaters, but tough girls. Let's be honest. Lost her previous 2 fights before that to Tisha Torres and Rose Namajunas. There's no shame in that. So, this entire week, my lean has been Kovalkovich, but I mean, if Waterson can get the fight to the ground, she can easily squeak out a decision. So, this is a pass for me.
And I'm not really sure why Waterson didn't try to get Felice Herrig to the ground. It didn't make any sense. I don't think she even attempted a takedown. I think Felice actually took her to the ground in round 3, if I remember correctly, and then Waterson was able to scramble into top position. But I'm pretty sure if Felice is the one who engaged the takedown there.
Felice had the only takedown of the fight.
Yeah, right. And I think it was late in the fight. I think it was in round 3.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
Waterson fight against Casey.
Yeah, she had 3
fight against Casey. She barely even won that too.
Yeah, but she had 3 takedowns in that fight. I mean, at least she, talking about really the reason I bring it up is just because, I hear CG saying, striker grappler. And then I'm like, but she didn't even try to grapple against Felice Herrig. And that seemed like it was her advantage there also.
Don't you think if it remains standing, though, Kovalkovich has the edge? I can't picture Waterson winning a striking-based decision over her.
I agree. And again, Kovalkovich, talk about some of the – because this is what I wrote down when I did my tape study. Against Felice Herrig, Carolina had 126 strikes. Against Esquivel, who I think is terrible, but she had 127 strikes. Michelle Waterson hasn't come anywhere near 100 strikes. So I think in that fight with Felice Herrig, she may have had 75 strikes and won that decision. So if Carolina keeps it on the feet and she strikes at her normal rate, which there's no reason to think she isn't going to, I think she wins this fight. They're actually listed at the same size, and I don't know how they're the same size because Carolina.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. But this next fight is shortening up here, and I actually wanted to put a play in on Josh Emmett. I like Josh a lot, and he did come on the Brews and Bets podcast back in October for the Khabib Conor fight when we broke down that card. Real good dude. Talked about the whole injury and everything with Jeremy Stevens. And, I'm on him. And Ty brought it up on the Quan Edge podcast, so I'm kind of stealing his point. But Michael Johnson's last fight was against
Artem
Andre.
Lobov.
Well, Artem Lobov, but he fought touchy-feely, and then he stepped in to fight Lobov, right? Because that was a short-notice replacement fight. But his last fight before that was against Andre Feely, and they're in Team Alpha Male together. So I'm pretty sure that Josh Emmett is going to get plenty of information from Andre Feely, and I believe that was a split decision, right? I think Feely won one of those rounds, and it was a very, very close fight.
It was a split, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Josh Emmett is going to have an advantage that not many other opponents do with Michael Johnson. And again, as long as you can stay away from the big left hand, which I think he'll be able to, I think Josh Emmett's going to be able to counter with some heavy punches, and that body will be open. He can use his kicks. And I don't think he's going to wrestle, but for the most part, these guys are both decent wrestlers. So I think it's going to play out on the feet, and I really do like Josh Emmett to win a decision or finish. I think this fight could finish too. CG, what do you think here?
Oof, I don't know. I think if it remains standing, I think Michael Johnson can win a striking-based decision. He has more volume. But if, Emmett has a collegiate wrestling background, if he can get Johnson to the ground, and Johnson's takedown defense is 77%, but I mean, I don't know. That doesn't hold a lot of weight with me. Johnson gets taken down all the time. Andre Feely took him down twice. Emmett can absolutely get Johnson to the ground. Emmett has more paths to victory, and that's what I always look at when I'm assessing fights. So slight lean towards Emmett. Plus, I'm getting dog money, right? What's his line to win the fight?
It's actually a pick'em right now.
Oh, it's a pick'em right now. Okay, yeah, wow. So, yeah, I mean, gun to my head, yeah, Josh Emmett wins the fight, but he doesn't have the best fight IQ either. Look at his fight against Desmond Green. I mean, he just stood there and tried to box Desmond Green, who I believe had the reach advantage. And I mean, Emmett was a big favorite in that fight and lost it. I mean, Michael Johnson is somebody that beat Edson Barbosa in a striking contest. You know what I mean? So what makes you think that Emmett can outstrike him? Maybe, but I don't know. Emmett, like I said, he has more outs. If I'm going to bet on anybody, it's going to be him, but I'm going to pass on this fight.
Dave, what do you think?
I'm in agreement with you guys that, with Emmett, but the thing that scares me with Emmett is, obviously coming off that brutal KO to Stevens and having all those surgeries, I have a feeling he could be a little gun shy to take a punch. He could end up being backing away or just going right for the takedowns right away to avoid those punches, which he should do. He doesn't want to get into a firefight with Michael Johnson because it could end up being another brutal knockout.
Yeah.
But
and again, the injury was a broken orbital bone. So again, if you're taking shots to the face, it's I think when did he
There's a couple injuries, right? Concussion.
Yeah. He
had facial surgery and stuff.
The orbital bone, I think, was the big one.
So just to be clear,
he has a metal plate in his face.
If this is just a striking contest, no takedowns involved, you think Emmett still wins this fight?
You know what? I'll be honest with you.
Putting you on the spot.
It is, but it's also, you make me think it's probably my bias. You know what I mean? I want Josh to win this fight. I mean, he was real impressive in that first round against Jeremy Stevens. I thought he won round one. I thought he was real impressive. Round two, unfortunately, he got caught, and then, I thought it was an illegal knee myself, but I don't know. It's close.
Michael Johnson is so tough to analyze. This guy, look at his track record. He beat Poirier. He beat Tony Ferguson. He beat Barbosa, but then he loses to Gaethje. Gaethje's top 10 guy, but he loses to Darren Elkins. Yeah, he almost beat Gaethje, but then he loses to Darren Elkins. You know what I mean? I mean, he's just inconsistent. So I think the path to beat him is to get him to the ground. But if Emmett decides to stand and trade, I think that would be completely senseless.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. You may have just talked me off a bet there. All right, I'm going to throw out this next fight, and again, I don't want to give you my bias, but whatever I say is going to be biased because David Branch. I live in Union City in New Jersey. David Branch is a New York guy, but he has his jiu-jitsu studio in Hoboken, which I'm literally looking at right now. So in Hoboken, New Jersey. So he's kind of a local guy here. I would like to see him win this fight, but again, every time I'm on Branch, he loses. Every time I'm off him, he wins. I picked Santos, and Branch knocked him out. I was on Branch when he fought Luke Rockhold, and Rockhold was coming back off of that layoff. He actually won round 1, but then got mounted and wound up losing that fight. And then I was actually on him. That was when was his last fight? Was Jared Cannonier. I was covering that. That was I think that was the first card in January, right, on ESPN.
Sounds right.
All right, I think that was the fight, and Cannonier winds up, knocking him out. Jack Hermanson, he beat Charles Mirschart the last time out. Really like the way he looked. He pushed the pace early. I want Branch to win this. I just don't think he's going to. So, Dave, go ahead. I'll throw it right back to you. What do you think here?
Oh man, I always get Branch fights wrong. There's last time I thought he was gonna easily win, and he obviously got smoked. But my problem is that Hermanson hasn't fought anybody that's great, and the ones that he has fought, he ends up losing. I mean, I'm pulling up his record now, but I just don't have a really good feel on this fight at all. For the most part, I'm not betting it. I'm staying away from it. But I mean, Hermanson's lost to Santos, for Cesar Ferreira. But his best win, probably his last fight. Who else has he fought? Talis Laitis. I mean, he hasn't really beat anybody great. Where Branch has, 2 belts when he was it back in LFA.
No,
World Series of Fighting, whatever which one it was.
Yeah, he was a World Series fighting champ, I believe.
Yeah, and he's also got a win over Thiago Santos. I mean, I don't know if it was just kind of a fluke punch, but
listen, I was cage side. That was UFC Atlantic City. I was cage side for that. He caught him clean, right in, pushed Santos up against the cage and kind of caught him in the exchange. So it is what it is.
But yeah, I just don't. For this fight, I just don't have a strong lean either way, and I'm, betting wise, I'm staying away from it. It's not an entertaining fight, and I'll just enjoy watching it on the TV.
TG, what do you think here? You got to play?
Oh, man. So the beginning of the week, I was on Dave Branch because when you look at Hermanson, you look at his victories, fucking Nicholson, Brad Scott, Talis Laitis, that was inspiring come from behind victory. But then Mirschart, who we all know quits as soon as the going gets tough. And then, he got decimated by Thiago Santos. You look at Dave Branch, I mean, one thing you have to give the guy credit for, I mean, when he loses to good guys. I mean, he loses to Rockhold. And I was big on Cannonier in his last fight. I thought Cannonier was going to beat Branch. I mean, that fight went exactly the way I thought. And I was, made a lot of money on that in DraftKings. But when you look at Hermanson, I mean, for him to win a fight, he's got to be able to manhandle somebody. He has to have the significant strength advantage. And I don't know if he's going to have that against David Branch, who used to fight at 205, has fights against Anthony Rumble Johnson. So, I mean, is Hermanson going to be able to manhandle Dave Branch? That's the question. And I don't know. Dave Branch absolutely has a path to victory. He might even be the more technical striker. One thing that concerns me about Branch is after Cannonier broke him in his last fight, Dave Branch was talking about retirement, and we all know what happens. As soon as fighters start talking about retirement, that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm wondering right now. Is he just fulfilling the remainder of his contract? Why is he still fighting? I mean, he's not going to get a shot at the belt. Let's be honest. He's almost 40 years old. Hermanson's much younger, 31 years old, I want to say. All the metrics favor Hermanson, almost 5 strikes per minute, over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. So, God, it's a very tough fight to call. From a betting perspective, I'm going to pass. But from a DraftKings perspective, I mean, we're talking about Barzola earlier being a DraftKings all-star. So was Hermanson. Hermanson scored over 112 points 3 different times. So I guess right now my lean would have to be Hermanson, but I think it's going to be a good litmus test for both fighters.
TJ, I swear I thought you were going to say Branch. You went back and forth with that analogy.
I know. I don't. Honest to God, dude. It's like asking my wife where she wants to go out for dinner. Or like she goes back and forth between like 6 different places. Like, right. I'm so indecisive with this fight. I don't know where to go.
Yeah, you ask her 6 different places, then you wind up ordering Chinese food or something.
Yeah, you know how it goes.
So, all right. So I'm going to start with this fight, but I'm going to keep it nice and short because I want to hear what you guys think about this main event. First of all, I cannot wait to watch this fight. I mean, this is the kind of fight. There's a reason that this is the main event on ESPN, right? Like, there's just no other way to explain this. So, first of all, I said before when Dave and I were waiting for you, that I feel like I just got my basketball check. I just got a $3,000 basketball check. I feel like taking that, depositing it in FanDuel or DraftKings, either one, and fight doesn't go to decision minus 515 and just collect my $600 because I don't see any way that this fight doesn't finish. Gaethje doesn't let the fight go to decision, especially in 5 rounds. He's gonna step into the wheelhouse. And I just see Barbosa with those leg kicks doing so much damage to Gaethje early in round 1 that Gaethje's going to just try, run in with his chin up and get himself knocked out. What Barbosa did to Dan Hooker was like, I know if anybody had a fight on the street, it would be illegal, but that was like inhumane. What he did to Dan Hooker was inhumane. He completely ripped him apart. Yeah. And again, I know Gaethje's tough. I know he's got the wrestling background, and everyone thinks, all right, he should use his wrestling background. He's not going to use his wrestling background. He's going to go out and he's going to try to knock this guy out. That's the way he wants to fight. That's what makes all the big money. That's why he's the main event on ESPN, and that's why Dana White put him in this spot, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard. That's why he's here right now. So, again, he's going to entertain the crowd. Barbosa actually used to train in Jersey. I think he's training down in Florida now. I think he went to American Top Team, right? He left Frankie Edgar's camp. He used to hang out with those guys and train with them. I think Barbosa is going to win the fight, and I think it's going to finish. I don't think Gaethje's going to be able to do it. But, again, if Gaethje wins the fight, it's going to finish. So I may put $3,000. I'll take my basketball check, and I'm going to give myself a nice little bonus at minus 515. So, CJ, I'll throw it to you, and then Dave will go right to you to finish this off. What do you think?
So, yeah, Barboza hasn't suffered a loss to a striker since Michael Johnson, who we discussed earlier, and that was over 4 years ago.
Yeah. And
I keep on hearing this entire week, different podcast shows, Barboza loses when you put the pressure on him. Barboza loses to grapplers. Let's be honest, okay? He loses to people like Khabib, Kevin Lee. Ferguson beat him with a Darce choke. Barbosa is the most technical striker in the entire UFC, regardless of division, period. And if he's not, tell me who is. So, I mean, can Gaethje win the fight? Yeah. I mean, he can come in there, throw that right cross and land it on Barbosa just like he did against James Vick. But I think that probability is very low. If it's going to be a striking contest, I think Barbosa is going to systematically destroy Justin Gaethje, just like he did Dan Hooker. And to be honest, I mean, Justin Gaethje seems like a really good dude. There's a part of me that doesn't even want to watch this fight because the guy's already punch struck Justin Gaethje, and Barbosa can just damage his body and his brain so badly to the point where the damage is irreversible. I don't know. Edson Barbosa inside the distance. But like I said, Gaethje just fights with so much reckless abandon. He can win the fight. And who knows? Maybe he is just going to throw everybody off and come in with a grappling heavy game plan. And I mean, all I know is that if Gaethje comes in with that reckless abandon game plan, he will succumb to it. One line I like, Steve, I know you mentioned minus 515, fight doesn't go to decision. If you want to bring it down a little bit, fight won't start round 4, minus 248. I like that line as well.
Yeah, that's not a bad line either. Although Dustin Poirier, if you remember that fight, Dave and I were talking about it right before we went live when we were waiting for you. Poirier actually went to round 4, right? Gaethje almost knocked him out in round 3. Went to round 4, and then that's when Poirier wound up beating Gaethje at the beginning of round 4. But yeah. Dave, what do you think? I mean, and your analysis was spot on. You made a couple of points that I actually made on the Quan Edge podcast when Ty and I did it earlier today. But again, who winds up beating Barbosa? You're talking about a guy like Khabib, and you're talking about Kevin Lee, and even Kevin Lee was on chicken legs. That was at UFC Atlantic City, right? He
No.
caught him with that heel kick, and he had him on chicken legs. So he almost finished that fight too. But Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys on Barbosa. My biggest issue with Gaethje is his striking defense. When you watch him, he puts his hands up like this to block punches. And what does that expose? His ribs. And Barbosa's leg kicks to the midsection are going to do some serious damage. No matter how much Gaethje's pushing forward, those ribs are going to take a beating. Couple bets that I kind of looked at quickly, because now that the props are out, if you do like Barbosa wins, I think the fight's going to get out of the first 2 rounds. If you do Barbosa wins in round 3, it's plus 800. Or yeah, I think that, yeah. Or round 4, which I think is plus 1275. Place a little sprinkle on those.
So if you had $3,000, would you put like $2,000 on round 3 and $1,000 on round 4?
Well, I'd probably do most of it on your bet for fight, doesn't go to distance. But yeah. I would still probably put a couple hundo on each of those and get a nice extra payday on top of it.
It's not a bad play. It's not a bad idea at all. I mean,
one thing that we haven't discussed, though, what about those Gaethje leg kicks, though? The calf kicks? If he can land those early.
But Barbosa's leg kicks are equally effective.
They're just equally, yeah, they are. But
and Gaethje's never faced someone who's kicking him like that back.
Yeah, and that's a good point about leaving his body open. I was watching Gaethje and Eddie Alvarez, UFC 218 in Detroit. I was live at that fight, and that's how Eddie Alvarez won the fight, by attacking the body, and ended up hitting him with the knee and knocking him out. But yeah, Gaethje's body is there for the taking, and Barbosa can go wherever he wants. He is the most technical kickboxer in the UFC. So, God, what a goddamn fight this is going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just glad. I'm going. I'm going to cover it. So that's about it. CG, how many more beers you got there, buddy?
I'm on number 3 right now. But hey, once you guys leave, I might just continue to talk to myself and drink some more beers and watch some fights. I'm still doing the podcast.
CG's doing a solo pod on.
Talking to myself, and hey, this is like the only alone time that I get all week. So.
You got to live it up. You got to live it up. Dave, so, where can everybody find you again? Let them know where you are on Twitter and where your writing and stuff is.
On Twitter, I'm dr_bean17, and you can find me. I do my articles on Daily Fantasy Insiders. I do all the writing there, so come check it out. I don't have any promo codes, but they have daily and monthly passes and all that year access.
Yeah, and again, I'm doing all my stuff for the Quant Edge. Tyler's got the projections going now, so we got a projector. I'll have an article. The podcast should be posted shortly. And CG, where are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm not overly active on Twitter, but I'm CRG1010. So yeah, give me a follow, and yeah, hopefully we can keep on continuing to do this every week. Brews and Bets. I enjoy this. I do miss talking about DraftKings, but maybe we can incorporate that every now and again. Who knows? But bottom line, make sure that everybody subscribes to the Quant Edge. Do that. Great analysis.
Yeah, CG, you could even for now on give us like your top 2 or 3 plays at the end for DraftKings. You know what I mean?
It's been so tough finding underdogs lately.
I feel like this week we're both on Paul Craig.
That's it. Yeah. I have Paul Craig, and then I'm really hitting that mid-range.
Yeah. I'm thinking Paul Craig, and I may actually go Shaman Morais. I know you're a big fan of Yusef. I just think that Morais is going to be able to win 2 of these 3 rounds.
Yusef's hand speed is nuts. No way. Steve, come on. If you're on Morais, make sure you hedge it at least. Do me that favor.
$3,000 on Yusef. Done.
I currently have Morais in my dummy lineup.
He's in my lineup right now.
Steve. Okay, let's talk about this next week.
Go ahead.
$3,000 on Yusef inside the distance plus 232. We will revisit this next week.
Okay, we will. All right, so we're gonna sign off right now. I have to go cash this $3,000 check because I may have to make a play.
What a prick.
Guys, I appreciate it, and hopefully everyone wins some money this weekend.
All right.